customer of Tom the barber. In fact, one of his oldest. He visited twice a week since Tom opened his shop on the ground floor of a residential building in Cherry Hill Plaza, a New Jersey suburb. These visits were opportunities for him to meet faces from the condo complex and even from the wider neighborhood. Many customers came to Tom the barber's shop simply to pass the time, preferring it to the diner across the street on Main Street. Some would even ask for a soda or coffee to be brought to them right there in Tom's shop, finding a special pleasure in the setting. These gatherings allowed many to catch up on local gossip and know everything happening in the neighborhood in detail. Among Tom's clientele was a man in his 50s, known as Jeffrey, who only visited once a month. He was a silent, secretive man. Tom and the regulars who used his shop as their social club didn't know what this man did for a living. Despite the years he spent sharing the barbershop and the neighborhood, he remained a mystery to them. All they managed to learn, mostly from Bill, the building superintendent, was that he lived alone and no one ever came to visit him. This only fueled their curiosity. He left early, clean-shaven and sharply dressed. He drove the same SUV he'd owned for years and didn't return until late evening, around 8 o'clock. The barbershop regulars often tracked his movements, but they never managed to penetrate beyond these known facts of his daily routine. This left a deep desire in many of them to know more about the quiet, enigmatic man who never offered more than a brief nod when he saw them at the lobby door, in the parking lot, or coming into Tom's shop. None of them even knew his real name for sure. The barber called him Jeff, and he never corrected it. There was no reason to object, as it was common for people whose names weren't known to be called by a simple nickname. It was a sign of respect. Among the shop's most frequent visitors was a man in his mid-40s named Dave. He was known to be a real estate agent and used the barbershop as a place to hold his appointments. This was the mid-90s, and cell phones hadn't become widely common yet. Dave, whose full name few knew, David Hopper, brokered the sale and rental of apartments in the housing complex where Tom's shop was located. He also handled buying and selling of land, both in legitimate developments and in sketchier, unregulated ones. His activity even extended to used car sales. These varied contacts made him a primary source of news for the regulars. The secret revealed. One evening after the rush hour, Dave the agent came into Tom the barber's shop, a shop that was always full of people who weren't there for a haircut or a shave. That day, he had explosive news. He announced that a woman had come asking for Jeff. As soon as he finished the name, he added a smile that hid more than a little scorn and sarcasm. The necks of the men in the shop craned toward him. Tom's hand stopped, holding his razor in one hand and securing an old customer's head with the other. Dave continued his story. "Yes, a woman came asking for him, and you should know our friend's name is James." The barber, returning the razor to the customer's head, replied, "And why should we care if his name is James or George? There's something else, something bigger and more dangerous." The agent provoked the attendees' curiosity further, seeming to relish their anticipation. But he didn't want to prolong the suspense. He said, "The woman claimed she was his wife and that she came from Boston to Philadelphia looking for him." The agent added that he learned from her that James used to own a jewelry store in Boston, but he suddenly sold it and disappeared. She had been tracking his movements until she reached this suburb. Dave mentioned that she had suspected he'd married another woman, but she seemed reassured when he told her he was known to live alone. Despite all this talk, the information Dave brought didn't satisfy the burning curiosity. What he had brought was possible anywhere and any time. Furthermore, the woman merely claimed to be his wife, and his past was none of their business. What the craning men expected Dave to reveal was, for example, the mysterious man's job or the nature of his connections. But the agent offered none of that. All he provided was the name James. The buzz of excitement quickly faded from Tom's barber shop. The group dispersed after closing time, and everyone went their own way. The ambush. The next morning, around 9 o'clock, Tom the barber arrived at his shop. He unlocked the door, swept the inside and the adjacent area. Then, he noticed a dark-colored SUV with New York license plates parked in the lot. 3 powerfully built men got out. They walked past the shop. One glanced towards the barber, while the other 2 walked on, seemingly indifferent to his presence. In the end, it was nothing that concerned Tom. In any case, all the news would eventually find its way to him. About 45 minutes later, Tom saw the 3 men return. They got into the SUV and drove off. In the evening, Dave the agent came in, clearly carrying heavy news. He said he learned from Bill the superintendent that 3 foreigners had asked for James, took the elevator to his apartment, and then left. The agent's tone suggested he believed the 3 men had an old score to settle with the mysterious resident. Over the next 2 days, the SUV remained in its parking spot unmoved. This caught the attention of Bill the superintendent, who went to knock on the door to check on the tenant. When he got no response, he called the police department. Naturally, a unit was dispatched to investigate. After repeated knocks went unanswered, they forced entry. From a first glance, the apartment looked like a genuine battleground. Many things were scattered everywhere. On the living room floor, they discovered the man, his face covered in dried blood, his teeth broken. One of the officers checked his pulse and shouted, "He's alive!" An ambulance was called, and he was rushed to the hospital. The furniture in all the rooms was overturned. The initial conclusion was that the attackers were searching for something. Later, a forensics team arrived to lift fingerprints and trace anything that might lead to the culprits and uncover the secret behind the assault. The testimonies provided by the neighbors generally agreed that the man was a quiet, decent resident. At Tom the barber's shop, several statements were taken, including that of Dave the agent, who confirmed a woman had inquired about the man they called Jeff, claiming she was his wife. Dave said she claimed he disappeared from Boston after losing his jewelry business. The agent insisted on clarifying that this happened 2 days before the assault. Tom the barber, meanwhile, said he saw 3 powerfully built men get out of an SUV with New York plates and go into the building. The superintendent, Bill, completed the story of their arrival. He was the one who went up with them to the 4th floor and pointed out the apartment door. He said they gave him $50. Identity uncovered. After 2 days in the ICU, the man regained consciousness, and the doctor allowed him to be interviewed. The police had already succeeded in identifying him. His real name was Travis Johnson. It turned out he had been a wanted fugitive for several years and had been using a fake ID in all his dealings and movements. None of the claims made by the woman who asked Dave about the man she called James, her alleged husband, were true. It seemed the assailants had used her to scout the location, and she had provided them with a significant amount of information.
Travis Johnson was a fugitive from justice after being involved in an assault and battery case leading to a death in Atlanta. His connections to international drug trafficking networks had been revealed at the time. While being interviewed in the hospital, Johnson admitted he was connected to an international drug smuggling ring. The victim, who died in Atlanta, was one of his associates, and Johnson had transferred large sums of money, nearly $1 million, from the smuggling proceeds into his personal account and refused to return it. He claimed he didn't intend to kill him. That was an old story in his files. The more critical focus for the investigators was to get him to talk about his connection to the people who came and attacked him with such brutality. He had multiple fractures in his limbs, and his teeth were shattered. He said they came from Miami, sent by the head of a drug trafficking network active across several states. The reason for the attack was a failed deal. The network he worked for couldn't smuggle a shipment of drugs he had received a financial advance for. The investigators concluded the matter might require interagency cooperation to track down the leaders of the drug ring. The investigation revealed that Travis Johnson chose to live in that New Jersey apartment complex because it was inconspicuous. He was careful to keep his old SUV, despite the money he made from drug trafficking, and he avoided provoking any trouble with neighbors or anything that could lead to legal scrutiny. The investigation also revealed that he benefited from the services of other parties, including a network specializing in providing fake IDs, which supplied him with the documents under the name James and allowed him to move with great freedom. For days, the story of the mysterious man remained the central topic of discussion at Tom the Barber's shop. Dave the agent realized that some people's secrets are too complex to uncover, and that some masks eventually become a real face.